Good morning, everyone. So thank you very much, and best wishes to all of you for this new year. I want to welcome not only the people that is on the room, that is nice to be in this hybrid mode, but also the people that is online and that is participating in this technical workshop. We hope you can enjoy it because we want you to hear us, but also we want you to participate, and we will try to do this on this online mode because we want to open a lot of this debate about the challenges to assess food loss and waste prevention and reduction actions from a sustainable perspective. I am going to present briefly ToNoWaste project. This is part of in the first part of the presentation, but after me, the team from Universitat Jaume I will continue sharing with you the insights on this sustainability assessment tool that has been developed in the project. And also in the last part of this workshop, we are going to have first insights on the sustainability, on the digital tools we are developing to try to automatize as much as possible this access to data. I want to contextualize the project ToNoWaste in the problems that the project want to add some knowledge, some insights. Of course, you are aware of those data that you have now in the screen. Food waste is one of the greatest sources of inefficiency in the agri-food supply chain and in the agri-food chain, with negative impacts not only derived from the economic impact of the kilo wasted of food, but also the environmental and the social impacts of this waste of resources. We have population that suffering hunger due to food shortages at this moment, and we are wasting this huge amount of resources, huge amount of food, and also the environmental impacts are important. All of you are aware of. But in this context, the areas of action that ToNoWaste is contributing is about new technologies in the automatization of the data management, and also in the automatization of taking decisions, but also improving the measurement from the sustainable perspective, understanding better the rules that cause this waste at household and other levels in the supply chain, and of course researching in depth in the environmental impacts of this food loss and waste. In this context, the mission of ToNoWaste from the very beginning is to encourage actors in the European food systems to take better decisions toward a more sustainable food production and toward a more sustainable food consumption using science-based tools. This is a problem in the slide. For doing that, we try to provide farmers, supply chain companies, consumers, policymakers, so all actors in the supply chain, in the agri-food supply chains, with integrated, more objective, standardized information about their impacts, and of course about the benefits of their actions to reduce food loss and food waste. We are co-creating a portfolio of actions that will be assessed as René has presented you the different pilots the different actions we have in the pilots and also in the follower cities to promote a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable food production and consumption. And of course, we are doing that inside a structure of a project with these work packages that you can find in our website. We have a huge part of the project is research. So we are researching in consumer behavior, but also researching in impacts on sustainability and in analysis of sustainability impacts and risks. the food loss and waste, and we have a work package for validating this research, and of course, and for co-creating solutions. This is what we have been doing during the first part of the project. In fact, we are now 2 years and a half ahead from the beginning. We have created most of these results. You already have access to it in our website that Mashit has shared with you at the very beginning. We have created a glossary to have a common language inside the project, and of course, for the rest of the people that move in our results to understand what means different terminology for us in the project. We have made an analysis of food waste and food loss at EU level, and we have reviewed the previous European research projects and actions in the last 15 years to identify causes and solutions and to contextualize, to have the contextual factors of this food loss and waste. We have created an initial portfolio of selected food loss and waste prevention and reduction solutions. We have also prepared a deliverable with the regulatory analysis of the food supply chains to prevent food loss and waste. We have produced a sustainability assessment framework that is going to be presented today and discussed with you today. We have a master strategic plan for our pilots to be all of us aligned in the project. We are also producing a map of KPIs for assessing the sustainability. So this is one thing that we are going to share also with you. We have designed a social research analysis, and we also have an ethics survey. We have an ex-ante analysis of consumers' perspective, and we are going to produce during the project an ex-post analysis. We have functional requirements already in place for the ToNoWaste ICT tools, and this will be presented today to you. And we also have a ToNoWaste social app to capture data from consumers and from other actors, and an annual action plan that is the master plan for the actions in the pilots. Now I'm going to give the floor to one of my colleagues, to Juana María Rivera, that is the leader of Work Package 1, because we are going to begin with the dynamics inside the workshop. And I want to thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, María Jesús. Good morning, everyone. And as María Jesús said, with the aim of knowing your opinion and making the presentation of this along this workshop more enjoyable, through the workshop we have prepared some very short surveys. In this case, before starting the explanation of the sustainability assessment, we would like to know what environmental and social aspects you consider to be the most relevant for making decisions regarding food losses and waste prevention and reduction actions to be implemented. We have prepared a survey for this, and you can access to this survey through the code that you can see in the slide. So please scan that because we would like you to answer now during 3 minutes, more or less. So let me advance in the contents of this workshop. As you know, we have structured these contents considering the main challenges in the sustainability assessment of food loss and waste prevention and reduction actions. So the first challenge we face when evaluating the sustainability of actions or for preventing or reducing food losses and waste is conceptual. The initial question we must ask ourselves is what do we mean by food loss and waste? While this might seem like straightforward questions, various conceptual approaches show that it is far from simple. To start, it is necessary to differentiate between food loss, food waste, and general waste in general terms. A key issue is clarifying that we are referring to food, to edible food, which involves distinguishing between edible parts and food product and non-edible parts. In the framework of the ToNoWaste project, we developed, as María Jesús said before, a glossary to clarify these fundamental concepts, starting with the term of food waste. Food waste, as you can see in the slide, refers to the decrease in the quantity of quality of food resulting from the decisions and actions of actors in the food supply chain. Nevertheless, FAO differentiates between food loss associated with the decisions and action of producers, processors, and wholesalers, that is, in the first stages of the food supply chain, and food waste associated with the decisions and actions of retailers, food service providers, and consumers, that is, the last part, the last stages of the food supply chain. Moreover, it is essential to differentiate between the waste of inedible parts and of food waste, and this distinction affects both the quantification of losses and the design of the proper actions to reduce or prevent food waste. Within the ToNoWaste project, the UJI team has prepared an illustrative video on this topic.
Our food cycle starts with fresh vegetables. Here we have a cucumber, a zucchini, and a pepper ready to be used. We take what we need. We cut it, we peel it, but not everything ends up on the plate. The peels, being the inedible parts of the cucumber, are waste. Here, they are separated from the food that we actually use. Sometimes, what we don't need now, we put aside and, if we are not careful, it can become food waste. Like this cucumber that, because it was not well preserved or eaten in time, has spoiled. Although it could have been used, it is now waste. When food goes bad, it ends up in the garbage. But we can also make better use of our vegetables, like zucchini, which we peel and use as much as necessary. What we cannot really eat becomes waste. The part of the zucchini that we don't need now, we set aside, but this time, instead of throwing it away, we keep it for later. By using a zip bag and keeping it in the fridge, we can make sure that this food does not become food waste. This way, we can incorporate it later in another recipe. The pepper, with some damage, may seem to be no longer useful, but by preserving it well, we prevent it from becoming food waste. And so, we have used every bit of it. The food waste tray has remained empty because we have preserved the food correctly. These are small actions that make a difference. ToNoWaste assesses the sustainability of your food waste prevention and reduction solutions.
Okay. In defining these concepts, it is crucial also to understand how stakeholders perceive the problem, identify its causes, and explore potential solutions. To this end, ToNoWaste project conducted at the beginning of the project within Work Package 1 different focus groups on technical workshops in the pilot regions of Vienna, Graz, and Austria, and Valencia in Spain. These focus groups involve different decision makers profiles from consumers, primary producers, distributors, food service providers, policymakers, a variety of different stakeholders. The key causes they identify include, only reflecting the most important causes, okay, include, for example, in the first position, a lack of awareness regarding the real impacts, economic, environmental impacts linked to food losses and waste. They also remark planning issues such as poor management of food purchases. Another very, very relevant aspect that it was very concerned, we felt very concerned about that, is the low perceived value of food, reflecting a concerning cultural attitude that is considering that food is a basic need, covers a basic need, it is perceived as a low value product. Moreover, aesthetic standards, where food is discarded for not meeting visual aesthetic criteria, was also other of the causes identified by stakeholders. And questions such as portion sizes or packaging poorly adapted to real consumption needs were also highlighted, both in the Valencian region and in the Vienna Graz pilot. So once the possible causes were identified, we can move on the identification of potential solutions. To do so, we rely on the categories established by the Joint Research Center, the 5 categories identified by the Joint Research Center, which classify action into various types, which include redistribution actions, for example, distributing surplus food for human consumption or repurposing it as animal feed, changing consumer behavior, key actions in this regard. For example, school programs that promote responsible habits, developing digital tools to facilitate behavior changes, or launching awareness and educational campaigns. As I said, changing consumer behavior is essential to addressing this issue effectively. Other type of actions, improving supply chain efficiency. We can see that it covers a variety of market actors profiles. Improving supply chain efficiency, for example, innovation in logistics processes and the development of digital tools to optimize resource management across different stages of the food supply chain. Product innovation, as improving packaging design to extend the shelf life of food and to reduce waste, of course. Or training and development guidelines for actions aimed at training different actors within the food supply chain, for example, promoting best practices in food handling and distribution. And finally, the last type of action identified by the Joint Research Center refers to food waste prevention governance. It's a cross-cutting governance actions. For example, developing the regulatory frameworks or public policies that prioritize food waste prevention, or the implementation of national programs or fiscal tax incentives to encourage sustainable practices in these regards. You can see that each of these categories provides complementary, necessary approach to tackling food waste and loss from multiple angles, enabling a broader and analysis and intervention regarding the prevention and reduction of food losses and waste. So based on these premises and the challenges identified in the earlier stages, both in both pilot regions and also in the city, in the city followers, we analyze different actions that with the objective of being implemented and assessed within this ToNoWaste project. So following the classification previously established by the Young Research Center, at least one action was selected for each of the described categories. I'm not going to delve into of each of these actions. René from Strateco explained very briefly at the beginning of this workshop the most relevant features of each of the actions, but I would like to emphasize that you can see that all the typology of actions are reflecting in the ToNoWaste portfolio of potential solutions. For example, regarding food valorization of for farm to shop to kitchen. Regarding consumer behavior change, for example, zero waste cooking goes schools, or food loss and waste prevention unit deployed in Hallandry, or for example, the waste prevention. The waste prevention and reduction measures to empower communities and address insecurity. Implemented by Caritas in Vienna, or actions linked to improving supply chain efficiency. For example, logistics optimization for school canteens, deployed by Quinatur, or the assessment of losses, causes and potential solutions in the citrus fruit cooperative, deployed by Cooperativa Valenciana. Training for supermarkets and distribution chain workers in perspective handle, educational and training actions deployed by Hälsingland. We can also highlight actions linked to this governance perspective of the supply chain. For example, this food loss and waste prevention and reduction project in Mercavalencia, or cross-cutting initiatives deployed in Valencia by means of the AgroLab by Las Naves, or the City Food Box implemented by Strateco in Graz, in Vienna, Graz. So, as I said, each of these actions reflects a collective effort to address this food loss and waste comprehensively, taking into account the specific characteristics of each region and fostering collaboration among multiple different stakeholders. For a detailed information of these actions and the selection process, you can see the public report, the deliverable 1.3, which is related to the portfolio of actions within ToNoWaste project, available in ToNoWaste website. Nevertheless, if you would like to know more, further details, of course, we will be happy to provide them. Now, my colleague, Idoya Ferrero, member of the UGI team and leader coordinator of Work Package 2, is going to share to debate on the next challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Juana. After this introduction of the project and the results of Working Package 1, let me continue the workshop with the part of where we are going to present the sustainability assessment of food loss and waste prevention and reduction actions. So, as María Jesús has presented in the first part, the project focused or tried to promote actions that reduce and prevent the food loss and waste. But we put the focus on the sustainability. We need to identify sustainability actions or actions that are much more sustainable. So for that, we need to identify these actions and we need to measure. So in this part, we are going to focus to this part of the sustainability assessment of the actions. We have structured this part in 3 points. First, we are going to explain the reasons for why this is important to measure the sustainability for the potential users. In the second point, we are going to present the structure of the sustainability assessment framework. That is one of the most important results of the project. And then in the third point, we show you a case study, a simple and illustrative action where we show you how we are measuring the economic, the social, and environmental impact of this action. This action is a multi-fruit juice action that we provide, that we have developed with the aim of avoiding wasting kilos of fresh fruit due to the overripens. So let me continue with an important challenge that we have that we found in this point, and is a motivational challenge. We need to meet the expectations and the need of the potential users. Okay, in the working package 1, we detected that they have a lack of knowledge about the impacts of the action. They need more data. They need data-driven tools also to make informed decisions. So that was the gap that we tried to cover with our tool. So in this respect, the tool, the sustainability assessment framework and tool, basically try to answer 3 questions. The first question is, what is the best action in terms of sustainability? We can compare actions. Also, another question that answer our model is, if we are focusing in a specific action, how we can improve this action, okay? And even in an hypothetical case, we can estimate potential impacts, okay? Just to adopt a proactive approach and to know, previous to the implementation of an action, what are the estimated impacts, okay? So those are the 3 important questions that answer our sustainability assessment framework. But depending on the context, we can think in a specific decisions on others. So our framework is focused basically in 3 types, and 3 actors are these, the ones that you can see in this slide: the policymakers, the primary producers, and other members of the supply chain members, and the consumers. So depending on the context, we can think specific reasons, okay? For example, let me just put some examples. In the case of the policymakers, you can think that this framework could be useful to identify areas that requires policy action to implement food loss, waste prevention and reduction actions that are more sustainable, okay? Even they can use this tool to estimate impacts in the case if they scale up the specific regulation or a specific policy action, okay? With respect to the supply chains member, this sustainability framework also could be useful for convince other partners of the supply chains to take actions regarding prevention and reduction, or just to know how they can improve a specific action in sustainability terms. And for the consumers, you can find a lot of reasons. Just let me highlight a couple of these. Could be interesting for a raise awareness of the sustainability impacts of food loss and waste, and therefore this can help to identify other actions that they can implement to reduce these impacts, or just to identify some domestic actions that could be sustainable to reduce food loss and waste, okay? So in the next part of the presentation, I'm going to focus on the framework, but I put the focus only on a specific actor because it's easier to explain, but think that given the context, given the decision could be different, these peculiarities could be different, and we understand these peculiarities in a broad sense in this framework, okay? So now the second sentence that would like to share with you is that we need to create a useful framework, a useful assessment framework. And for that, we ask the potential users in Working Package 1 what are their needs, their requirements for this assessment framework, and they put the focus that they need tools that are in terms of cost benefit. The benefits should be higher than the cost. Okay, they need practical tools. They need tools that are easy to implement. So we take this in mind and create this framework. So let me present very briefly this framework, because after this is the framework that we operationalize in the example. Okay, so first of all, in this framework is you can find three specific steps that the user should be follow, and also three processes. The first step that they should follow is that in the first case we need to explore the context of the decision, the context of the action, and this is the step of the sustainability framework analysis. Okay, here we need to provide a complete and wide understanding of the action and their context. So in this first step, the first information that we need is the characterization of the action. Okay. Also, given we are going to do an assessment that is based on a life cycle analysis, we need to know the objective of the assessment, the scope of the assessment. We need collect also data important for this assessment, and these actions will be carried out here in this first step. It's important also to prepare the life cycle inventory. For this is a very technical part, and for that we will use databases and software, specialized software that help us with this task. And for us, it's also important the context of the action in two levels, at organizational level and in the context level. And therefore, we also have added 2 points connected with the sustainable management maturity of the organization, and and the steeplet analysis connected with the contextual factors like social factors, technological factors, economical factors, environmental, political, legal, ethical, and demographical. So after all this information is collected, then we go to the second step, to the sustainability assessment tool. In this case, in our first phase, we estimate the environmental, the social, and economic impacts. These impacts are estimated, are calculated using a life cycle approach, and we use very well established, very well known methodologies from an institutional and from a scientific point nowadays. For the environmental footprint, we are using the environmental footprint that is promoted by the European Commission. For the social footprint, we are using the methodology of the social hotspots database that it's inspired in the social life cycle assessment of the UNEP-CETAC. And for the economic footprint, we are using the life cycle costing, okay, methodologies. So given the environmental footprint and the social footprint requires a specific explanation regarding the aspects and the categories that they are measuring, now our colleague Elena Domingo, that is in person in the room there in Graz, she is going to explain the impact categories that are addressing these two methodologies. Okay, so now Elena.
Thank you, Idoya, and the rest of my colleagues, and thank you all for being here. As Idoya said, I'm going to talk about more in depth about the environmental impacts, and then the social impacts. Well, when we try to analyze environmental problems, we do it by modeling. In our case, we use a system perspective, right? A system is a series of individuals, relationships, and laws working together in an environment separated by a boundary. Originally, in environmental systems, we have dynamic balances and unbalances. That is that in the system, there is a balance that is unbalanced by other part of the system and then balanced again. Here we have a problem, which is human interaction. We have in some way twisted this balance with our interaction, right? Because we humans have the ability of disbalance this system voluntarily and persistently. So we'll see the problems that we can have due to these imbalances. To measure these problems and to analyze these problems, we need to use modeling and categorization of environmental problems. And we have not yet agreed on which ones are the sufficient and necessary for doing so. We have a lot of methods. We probably know carbon footprint or water footprint. These methods are so specific and they analyze specific environmental problems. Here in ToNoWaste, we need to analyze like the whole environmental problems that we can have to know exactly where the problem comes from. Well, in this sense, we have realized within research that the European recommended environmental footprint in this latest version, which is now the 3.1, is the best one to suit our research needs. This method, this life cycle impact assessment method, has 16 impact categories, which we are going to see more in depth now. All right, first one is climate change. We have here some image. In the first one, we can see the, let's say original balance. And then in the second one, we have the balance twisted by our interaction. In the first case, we have in the troposphere a layer of CO2, which, well, the sun emits rays that comes into the earth, which are reflected by the Earth's surface, go to this troposphere layer, and a part of those rays are reflected again, and other part is going back to the space. This effect of reflection makes that the Earth temperature has an average global value of 15 degrees centigrades. What happens with human interaction? We are emitting a lot of CO2 gases, which are being accumulated in the troposphere. Since this layer is wider, the amount of rays that are reflected by them is bigger, so that this is provoking that the global average temperature is increasing. We know life in the Earth with 15 degrees centigrades. If it's increasing, it provokes problems. Next is the ozone layer depletion. This is related with the ozone layer. Maybe you have heard about a hole in the ozone layer. This is not exact. It's more like a thinning of this layer. In the original balance, we have on the stratosphere a thin layer of ozone. This layer acts like a filter to the ultraviolet radiation emitted by the sun, protecting life in the Earth. The problem is that humans, have emitted a lot of CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, which attacked this ozone, making the layer becomes thinner. So more ultraviolet radiation enters into the Earth, provoking again, problems to the life here. The next impact category is particulate matter. In the renal case, our lungs are ready to filter particles that are bigger than 2.5 microns. But what happens with factories, activities, and so on, the emission of acids and smokes, there are on the Earth particles that are smaller than this size. Respiratory system is not able to filter them, so they remain inside our lungs, provoking respiratory illnesses and problems. Now we have the ionizing radiation, which is related to the electromagnetic waves, which can be dangerous for the functioning of our organs. And then in the image, we can see the acidification phenomenon. In the original balance, we have rain, which helps vegetation to grow. What happens? Factories emit sulfur dioxide, which is combined with oxygen. This makes that sulfur trioxide appears. This sulfur trioxide, in combination with water, generates acid rain. So acid rain is sulfur acid in combination with this water. When this water and this rain comes into the earth and goes through the vegetation, it provokes deforestation and all the problems related with that. An example of this issue happened on the Rim Basin, where they realized that there were big rate of deforestation levels, and they realized that they were due to the factories that were emitting sulfur dioxide to the area. The problems that we've previously seen, they are global, they act more or less globally, but this problem is really local. It's reflected locally in the area where this gas is being emitted. Now we have ozone photochemical formation. Factories emit nitrogen dioxide in combination with volatile organic compounds, right? In the original case, with no volatile organic compounds, the nitrogen dioxide in combination with ultraviolet radiation becomes nitrogen monoxide. This reaction in combination with oxygen produces ozone. And then when the ozone is produced, we have that the ozone is again combined with nitrogen monoxide, becoming nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. This is important because as we have seen, ozone in the stratosphere is needed for life in Earth. However, ozone in the troposphere, in the layer that is close to the Earth's surface, is dangerous because it's oxidant, and it can be dangerous for humans and for metals. So it's important this ozone is combined and in some way disappear. What happens due to human interaction? Since nitrogen dioxide is combined with volatile organic compounds, these volatile organic compounds capture nitrogen monoxide, which cannot be combined with ozone. So this ozone is accumulated on the Earth's surface, causing the problems we've talked about. Now we are seeing the eutrophication problem, which is mainly associated with water quality, a reduction in water quality. In the original balance, we have an ecosystem with, and the water has nutrients and oxygen, and everything is imbalanced. What happens with human interaction? Factories emit nitrates and phosphates. These compounds act as fertilizer for algae. So this algae has an overgrowth and start consuming the oxygen on the ecosystem. So there's not enough oxygen for animals to grow and start to die. And it's also problematic for algae because they start to, as I said, overgrow. The ecosystem start to run out as well of this oxygen for the algae. And however, the fertilizers continue coming, so the algae starts the rooting. And now here we have the rest of the impact categories. Ecotoxicity is associated with toxicity of ecosystems, and also we have toxicity on humans, which are reflected in cancer effects and non-cancer effects. Then we also consider the land use and the problems derived from the use that humans are doing of the land, and in a similar case happens with water and the use we are doing of this water. And finally, we have also impact categories related to the use that we are using of minerals and metals, and also fossil fuels and fossil resources. And this is all for the environmental part. Now we have the social impacts part. To assess the social impacts, there are a lot of guidelines to be followed. There is one proposed by the United Nations Environmental Program and the SETAC organization that is divided into 5 categories, and its category is then divided into different social themes. These categories depends on the nature of the social problems identified. In the first place, we have this one labor rights and decent working conditions. The social themes related to this category are wage assessment, poverty, child labor, forced labor, excessive working time, freedom of association and collective bragging, migrant workers, social benefits, labor laws and convention, discrimination and equal opportunity, and unemployment. Then we have a category related to health and safety, which compiles themes such as occupational toxic and hazards, and also occupational injuries and even death. Then we have human rights that compiles themes such as indigenous rights, gender equity, high conflict, and human health regarding on the one hand, non-communicable and health issues, and on the other hand, communicable diseases. Next, please, Silvia. Thank you. Then we have the category of governance, which compiles legal system and corruption. And last but not least, we have the category of community, where we consider access to improve the drinking water sources, access to improve sanitation, children out of school, or hospital beds access, which is a way of assessing the quality of the health access to population. As I said, these are guidelines which are still under development, and within ToNoWaste project, we try to work with very specific indicators that help us to analyze the social impacts of our actions. And this is all for my part. Thank you for listening. Idoya, I give you the floor again.
Thank you very much, Elena. So within the sustainability assessment framework, after knowing the results of the impact categories that Elena has mentioned for the environmental and for the social footprint, we also add the information connected with the economic footprint. And with all this information, also we can translate this in other useful information for making decisions. In this case, in the second step of this assessment, sustainability assessment tool, we also, our objective is identify the hotspots in the food loss and waste prevention and reduction actions. Here, with the results of the previous step, and also we add knowledge, expert knowledge, we identify those critical aspects that we can improve for improving the sustainability of the action. And also we have a third step here, the sustainability evaluation tool, where we merge, where we aggregate the previous information. Here our idea is to show a final result of sustainability in relative terms, and also we can identify and manage risks connected with the sustainability and with the actions. And if we are evaluating an action that comes from an improvement, we also can assess the capacity of the continuous improvement of this applied, okay? So this is the general framework connected with the sustainability assessment tool. After we obtain the results in this step, our framework propose communicate these results, communicate to the users. For that, this reporting tool will be explained in detail in the next part of the workshop. Manuel from Universitat of Deusto explained the tools, the ICT tools that we are connected with this step, and also the functionalities of these tools. Okay, so this framework is also underlined with 3 processes. We need to be sure that the information that we are translating, that we are communicating to the users is reliable, is comprehensive and reliable, and for that we adopt our assurance process. Also, we implement information traceability process, because we need to know the origin, we need to trace, to track all the information that we use in the model. And also we adopt a continuous improvement process. The idea is that this framework should be used in a dynamic way with the aim to improve the sustainability of a specific action, okay? So after this explanation about the full sustainability assessment framework, the idea now is to present a specific example that we will focus on this part, okay? Only in the environmental, social, and economic impact assessment of a specific action. And for that, we connect this practical example with this challenge. At the end, the evaluation method should be practical. In other case, the users, the actors, don't use it, okay? So when we operationalize all this framework, we have in mind that we need to balance the complexity and the accuracy of the assessment with also the usability, the practicability, and for that we use software, specialized software, and an existing database that help us with this task. And also we need to do some assumptions with this aim, okay? With the aim to address this challenge, the practical evaluation method. So for explain better this specific example, we have prepared this scheme. So the first point that we need to explore is the problem that are generating the waste, okay? Therefore, in our example, we first contextualize the problem. we are in the restaurant sector. We are thinking in a food truck business. The business model specific is connected with the healthy food. Okay, in this case, this food truck prepares salads, but we have detected a specific problem. This problem is that the food truck business is generating kilos of waste, of fresh food waste, due to overripeness. So given this context, we propose an food loss and waste prevention and reduction action. And this action is make multi-fruit juice using a blender and a refrigerator to extend their self-life, the self-life of this food, at least 48 hours. Okay, so we propose this action, and our objective is to assess the environmental, the social, and the economic impacts of this prevention, of this reduction action. Okay, so with this we have analyzed the problem and we have proposed the solution. But now, in the second point, we need to explore in depth the solution proposed. Okay? We need to explore in depth, and for that, we need to know which ingredients we need to prepare this multi-fruit juice. And in this case, we need these ingredients: apple, avocado, lemon, melon, grape, and celery. Also, we need to know what resources we need. We need an electric blender. We need a domestic fridge. And also we need a chef that is making the juice, okay? And here you can see the data connected with this action, okay? This could be collected in another step, but given we have present here the needs that we have, we also accompany these needs with the resources. Concretely, for this action, to prepare a juice, in this case, with these quantities, we need a 1.1 kilowatt blender. We need 15 minutes. We need to use this blender 15 minutes, okay? Therefore, with this information, we can estimate the exact consume. Okay? The same for the fridge. We estimate that we are using a fridge with 400 watts. With these assumptions, okay, during 2 days, therefore, the consumption that will be estimated for this action is this, okay, 0.58 kilowatts hour. So in total, for this action, we estimate this consumption of electricity. And also, we estimate that for preparing this juice, we need 15 minutes of a chef, okay? So after exploring this solution in detail, we need to be sure that the action that we are going to assess is reducing the food waste. In other case, we need to stop, because the evaluation, the sustainability evaluation, it doesn't make sense if it's not a reduction action or a prevention action. Therefore, here in these 3 points, we check that the action reduces the waste. Therefore, we compare the ex-ante situation before the action implementation with the ex-post situation. In the ex-ante situation, what's the reality? What's the picture? You can see now in the slide. First, the business in that case need these quantities of ingredients for their salads, okay? And then they purchase these quantities, okay? And this is the needs that they have for their salads. Therefore, if they don't establish any action, if they don't prepare the juice, these are the differences, and these grams are waste at the end, okay? With the action, if we implemented the action, the 2 first columns are the same. They buy the same quantity, they consume the same quantity for the salads, but in this case, we introduce the juice, okay? If we introduce the juice, at the end, the waste is also marginal, and in this case, we don't know how we can do with this, and at the end this is waste. Okay, then now compare the waste in the initial situation with the waste after the action, action reduction, the reduction action, and we observe that we have generated a reduction of 1 kilo. Okay, therefore the action reduced, and therefore we can continue with we can start with the sustainability assessment. Okay, so for the sustainability assessment, we need to collect more data. We need to implement some models, and in this 4 step, we are exploring all this part. Okay, the preparation of the analysis of the information for the environmental, social, and economic impact that that we will do in the next point. So for that, we need to collect more information. We need to gather more information about the action. This information could be really different depending on the action. Could be very extensive depending on the complex of the action. In this case, we are preparing a very simple example. Therefore, we only need to collect information connected with the consumption that we have mentioned before, and with the cost of the chef. But this could be a very hard work. For that, from UGI team, we have prepared a survey to facilitate this gathering data. And this survey is structured in seven sections, because we need to collect information at the end for the sustainability assessment from different nature. No? We need information about the action. We need information about the ex-ante situation, about the ex-post situation. We need information about the owner of the action, about the context, and about other aspects that are also important for the whole assessment. So here, just show you some pictures about our survey, but in this case, this survey we expect also that could be integrated in the platform, and therefore when platform is open, you can use the survey. So now here, let me show you the scheme that after collecting the data from the survey and with the support of an expert, we can prepare the scheme, the models for the assessment. So here in the first part, you can see the foods, the items, no, that we are going, or is connected with the action. This action is connected with apple, avocado, lemon, melon, grape, celery. Okay, I explain this after in the next slide, but in this case, we need to know what's the food target. We need representative food for all the action. I explained this beta. In this case, we have decided the grape. Here in this part, you can see the ex-ante modeling. In that case, this is the inputs that we have to the process. We only buy the raw materials. We prepare the salads. These are the quantities, and this is the waste that we have shown you before also in the table. Given we have not carried out any action, we don't have any consumption of resources, okay? And this data has been taken during 1 day. Therefore, this is a sample, okay? What's the ex-post situation? In the ex-post situation, we modulate the same information, but in this connected with the effect of the action, okay? We have here, we are implementing the action. The action consumes the resources, human resources, but also consume electricity. Here, this is the consumption of electricity. These are the products that are the output of the process, the salad and the juice, but we also generate this quantity of waste. In this case, this action, it's important to highlight that the period of the execution of this action is 2 days. Let me clarify that when we talk about the period of execution is the time during which the solution is consuming resources, okay? And also we can say that the period of duration of the effects of the action in this case is 2 days, okay? We can extend the life of the food, in this case 2 days, okay? So again, we gather the data related 1 day, is just a sample. Okay, here we have the register, all of the measurements that we have. So after this information, we also need other type of information. In that case, is connected with the economic cost. This will be collected also with the survey, but we need the cost of each of these items. Also, we need to know the cost of the electricity and the cost per hour of the chef, because this is important for the life cycle costing. And all this information until now has been directly gathering from the survey and directly gathering from in connection with the owner of the action. But we can also go to other sources to facilitate the elaboration of the inventory of the life cycle, okay? And for that, we go directly to the EcoInvent and the social hotspot database. We can use also other secondary sources like AgriWalis, but for this example, we have used EcoInvent. Okay, after we have all the data that we need to estimate the impact. And for that, we need models and methodologies. As you know, we have decided to use these methodologies: the environmental footprint 3.1, the social hotspot database, and the life cycle cost. For that, we use software. In that case, we have using Sigma Pro that facilitate the calculation of these methods. Okay, we have using Sigma Pro, and here I would like to explain that for the sustainability assessment, we have different options. We can calculate the sustainability assessment of all the items, but we have a lot of problems, I show you, or we can choose one representative food item for all the action, okay? What happens that this action involves different food products, okay? In that case, if we would like to estimate the impacts connected with all the products, we have we need to put a lot of effort to quantify the waste in an individual basis for all the items, okay? But also we need to allocate for each item the resource consumption, in this case connected with electricity and connected with the chef, okay? And this is quite difficult because the relation is not linear, it's not proportional. We need to do assumption, and at the end we need to do any assumption. And how we can simplify this process? We can simplify this process choosing a representative food for all the analysis, okay, for all the action. And this is why we propose choose a representative product. This decision should be made by the owner of the action, okay, and they can choose different criteria for this option. The owner can decide choose the representative product given the mass option, or given the mass criteria, the economic criteria, the volume criteria. So, but when we are proposing a representative product for all the action, the assumption that we are assuming is all the evaluation of the assessment will be done assuming that the kilograms of the waste generate the same impact as the representative product that we have chosen. Okay, so regarding the example in this slide, you can see the grams that we are using for the action, and you can see also the impact for each of these products that they are generating, okay? And with this information, we are asking you that please imagine that you are the owner of this action and please choose what's the representative product for you. This question is connected with the survey that we are asking you now, or that you can access with this code that we are showing you now in the slide. Please access now with your smartphones. If you prefer, we can put the link also in the chat. And the idea is that please choose the criteria that for you have much more sense for this decision. Okay, what do you think that is the best criteria for choose the representative product of the action? Let me tell you what was our decision to continue with the example. In this case, we decided to choose the food item that was more closer to the average weight by the waste. Okay, and here in this graph you can see what is the average of this action in terms of the social impacts and in terms of the environmental impacts. Okay, it's here in this point. And you can see that the item that is closer is the grapes. Okay, therefore, for this reason, we choose the grapes as the representative food item for this action. Okay.
Sorry, Idoya, for interrupting. Yes. Sorry, could you please go back to the slide before? Because we cannot see very well, but the unit for impacts, can you explain it, please?
Okay, I explained this after because we go in depth with this part, the social impacts and environmental impacts, but the social impacts, the units, it's each point, okay, because here we are using the same unit for all the impact categories, with the idea that we are thinking the idea that we are using the single score for the social and the single score for the environmental dimension. Okay, we are thinking, for example, here in this column, okay, we are seeing the impacts for the apple, the impacts for the avocado. These are micro points. This is the environmental impacts. Excuse me, because this is only environmental. But
so
excuse me.
P stands for point. PT. Micro PT.
Micro points.
Micro points. The impacts I've explained, they all have their own units, right? After that, you can do a process of normalization these impact categories, and you have neutral units, because we divide it by, it's a process of normalization. And then we weight, we use the weighting factors of the environmental footprint. We multiply it by the weighting factors defined by them, and that's the micropoint. And it's like a sum of all of impact categories. It's like a global environmental footprint value.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I just asked because for the diagram, we could not see it. For environmental impacts, you have micro points, and for social, you have points.
Yes.
That's to be sure that we know at the room also. Sorry, please go on.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So now, after collecting all this information and after knowing that we are using the grades as the representative production, now the representative product, now we can estimate the environmental, the social, and the economic impacts. Okay. So now let me start with economic impacts, because I think that is the more easy to understand impact. Okay, because it's the more familiar with us. So here we have prepared a table just to explain in a simple way the method. And in the first column, we are showing the impacts, okay, in this case, the cost, expecting that we are consuming, that we are using the total kilos of the purchase, okay? Then in the ex ante situation, we estimate the economic impact, taking into account the waste rate, and in the exposed situation, the waste rate also. So in the case of the initial situation, when we purchase, if we purchase 6 kilos, 0.85, okay, and each kilo, in this case, we assume that all the kilos are grapes. This per kilo, we pay 3 euros, 58, okay, then the total cost is 25.52 euros, okay, that's clear. What happens if we introduce the waste and we integrate the waste in our economic impact? So in this case, that's the quantity that we buy. We need to know what's the waste rate, okay? And in the ex-ante situation, the waste rate is the 18%. Therefore, if we consider this waste rate at the end, the economic impact of the ex-ante situation is almost 30 euros, okay? Here in the ex-ante situation, we are not doing nothing more. Therefore, at the end, the total economic impact is this 99.89 euros, okay? What happens in the exposed situation? In the exposed situation, we need to know what's the quantity used, the waste used, and therefore the waste rate in that case is the 3%. And at the end, taking into account the waste that we are generating, the food economic impact is 25.38 euros, okay? If at the end the waste rate is 0 euros, we are in this case, because this will be the cost. But here in the exposed situation, we are also need to add the cost of our resources, because we need this kilowatts hora for the refrigerator and the other element, and the cost energy by kilowatt hora is this one. Therefore, we need to add this 44 centimes of euros. But also we need to consider that we need 15 minutes of a worker, of a chef, doing the juice, and at the end we need to add these 3 euros that is connected with the cost of the chef, okay? Therefore, the total economic impact that this exposed situation has for us is this one, 28.52 euros, okay? Therefore, we compare the ex-ante and the exposed situation. What we can see that we have reduced 1 euro and 37 centimes in this case. Therefore, we have reduced the economic impact. This action has reduced the economic impact. We have saved money, but this cannot occur. We need the analysis, the complete analysis. Also, it's important to know this information by kilo. Why? Because then we can know the whole picture, taking into account all the consumptions, the consumptions of a year, of a month. Okay, we can extrapolate this, okay? I think that from the economic point of view is clear. Now let me tell you what happens in the environmental terms. In the environmental terms, the first steps are the same, okay? We consume these kilos. What changed? Now we don't have the euros by kilo, but we know the impact of kilo. If we are using the grape as the representative product, we need to know what are the impacts of these grapes, okay? We use the databases, the specialized databases and the software to know what's the impact of these grapes, okay? Then we know that the impact of this grape is 43.60 micropoints, okay? And then we can do the same analysis. We multiply the kilos by the impact of a kilo, okay? And this is the total. In that case, we will take into account also the waste that we are generating, okay, to calculate the impacts. Therefore, the impacts here in the ex-ante situation will be higher from the purchase. We will see this later. But let me go now to this impact, in the impact of the grape, okay? And in the case of the ex-ante situation and the ex-post situation. So in the ex-ante situation, if we are considering the waste rate, this is the total impact, okay? But this is micro points because it's the waste measure that we can show you, because this measure could be compared, okay? And also we can split this impact according to the different impact categories that Elena has mentioned, okay? Why this is very important? Because here, when we use this information in all the impact categories, we can see what are the categories that contribute more for the total impact. And for example, here we have ordered the impact categories, and we can see that water use has more than 50% of the impact. Okay, the second impact category more important is climate change, so on. Okay, if connected with the question of Mashit, the problem if we use the original units is that we cannot compare the impacts. Okay, that was the reason that we also use at this point the micro points, because this information is comparable. Okay, so we have the ex-ante situation. We also have the ex-post situation. In the ex-post situation, we can do the same analysis, but it's important because sometimes between the ex-ante and the ex-post, some impact categories can change the order. Okay, in the ex-post situation, here we are including the impact of the energy, for example, and here the energy connected with the refrigerator. Okay, and here in the ex-ante situation, we are not considering this energy of the refrigerator to conserve the juice. Okay, for example. Okay, so here using doing the same analysis of before, we can know the food environmental impact, but we also need to add the environmental impact of the action implementation. Okay, here is connected with the energy consumption. This is the impact of a kilowatt. Here is the consumption. Here is the impact of a kilowatt, and at the end we need to add this impact, 9.22. Okay, and at the end we can see what's the total environmental impact of the in the ex-post situation. We compare this, we can see that the ex-post situation is lower than the ex-ante situation, therefore we have reduced also the environmental impact. Okay, but please see that here you can see a trade-off effect. We reduce the waste rate, therefore we reduce the food environmental impact, but we need to implement some consumptions of resources, therefore this add more impact. Okay, so here the same analysis. Just let me say that we also can analyze the impacts about the results. Okay, this we can compare the ex-ante and the ex-post. This is really important analysis because sometimes we can see that in total we reduce the impact if we focus on the single score, but if we are disaggregating this in the impact categories, we can see that in some impact categories we can generate a greater impact. This is what happens with the ionization radiation. Okay, it's very, very small, but we are adding more environmental impact. This is connected with the type of energy that we are assuming that we are consuming. We have assumed that we are consuming a national mix. Okay, are not renewable sources. Okay. Okay. Exactly the same for the social impact assessment. What's the difference? The difference is the impact. Here are not talking about the euros. Here we are not talking about micropoints. Here we are talking about points. Points that are obtaining from the results of applying the models. We can use for that the software specialized. And here you can see, for example, a summary of what we can see using the disaggregation of information. Okay, this is the impacts for the ex-ante situation, disaggregated by categories and by social terms. The same for the ex-post situation. We can do the rest. Okay, comparing the ex-ante situation and the ex-post situation, and we can see that in that case we are reducing. Okay, we are reducing in all cases the social impacts. So just to finalize this part, I would like to say that this is just a very simple example. This the model that we have developed in ToNoWaste is a really general model that we are trying to address different typologies of actions. And for example, if we are thinking in actions connected with engagement, with awareness, with educational actions, in that case, the time is a really important factor that can change the result. Therefore, here is really important to estimate how the effect of the action has in the waste rate. Okay, and this effect is not linear, is not because we have this effect. We have the forgetting effect, the loss of motivation over time, the obsolescence, the substitution effect. Therefore, we have estimated that for these actions, the best function is an exponential type. Okay. Therefore, this is just to present it that depending on the action, depending on the context, this could be more complicated to assess.
ToNoWaste le evalúa la sostenibilidad de sus soluciones de prevención y reducción del desperdicio alimentario.